It's trying to find you. Everything that's for you is seeking you out. But we tend to be on the run, and we tend to be always not able just to actually receive what's ours and what's in your heart's purpose. But the universe doesn't work on effort. In this feminine era, the skill, you could say the willingness, is receiving. It's what the masculine mind tends to think of as not worthy of receiving, of allowing it to come to you. It tends to want to earn and achieve and to secure in form, in linearity, right? So the feeling of letting things come to you is almost a guilt, usually. There's a lot of guilt in the mind because you have, in other previous lifetimes, sometimes used that power against others, being the oppressor and the oppressed. You've experienced both sides of archetypes. And so in this era, you're not going to misuse this power. Really, it's energy that you're allowing to come to you. There is no struggle. There is only struggle against ease. It's the ease that someone doesn't truly think that they're worthy of having all of their needs met, of having everything that is for them to come to them, to live moment to moment without the strategies of a future and a past that create the sense of solidity within the being every time that this plan or worry or rumination comes about. In that belief of needing to plan, needing to secure something because you don't trust the foot that you place onto the floor, this creates the sense of time because you're not trusting the release of time. You create even more of a sense of solidity in a self, which what happens when you have a solidity of self? The rest of the colours feel more external to you. And this loop continues. If it feels more external to you, you have to plan, to strategize, to defend. So there's an upward spiral and a downward spiral. The upward spiral is, yes, it feels naked to not plan, to not have a strategy even for validation of others, to approach relationships without the need to manipulate, to serve your self-image, to live your life as a question, to live your life as I'm here to learn, to open, to crack open, not to secure safety for a self that isn't even mine. This self, there's nothing really here. There is no identity here. You create the sense of solidity in your need to protect something that doesn't need protecting. You're actually protecting protection itself. The defense mechanisms are really, there's nothing behind the shield except a thought that you need to keep this self-image together, which is just a bundle of consciousness that has no solidity, right? So this is the upward spiral. When you start to trust that abundance isn't hoarding all of this security. Abundance is having what you need when you need it. Classic Bashar. You could have a penny in your pocket, you could have millions in the bank, but everything that's in your purpose, you only need what is here. And you trust always that everything comes to you when you allow it, when you have the willingness to receive. This is the feminine quality, the goddess inside of you, because the god and the goddess within you are so divine in their archetypes that they're really the one step down from the all. And a lot of this collective has really suppressed the goddess feminine archetype because it was deemed weak or not valued in certain phases of a collective. But we don't fit a collective that had come before in order to fit something that was to do with a different era anyway. We're here about shedding the boundaries over what are we now valuing as a collective. You don't try and fit something that has served its purpose to create a better reasoning within the mind, when now it's all about shifting what we value, because we are always valuing what seems to grant us survival. So the strength of masculinity, the focus, the discipline, that was a certain value that was very valuable in those difficult dark ages. But we're not in dark ages anymore. And most beings can't quite admit just how much ease they could allow into their life. And so we're living out momentums of mechanisms from a masculine era, when really you just need to wind your fingers and your hands off the control steering wheel. Because when you allow it to come off, then your intention is the creatorship, not the control. You've got creator intention, which is fluid. It's not tangible. It's intention, attitude, allowing, receiving, seeing that everything's happening all at once. You're just changing the colors. You're getting into the feeling of allowing. You don't even have to try it. It's actually so simple that the ease of it is that you feel so naked. The mind that's so used to this masculine churning and doing can't quite understand why it doesn't have a job anymore. And so where there's no worry, the mind creates something to be employed, to have to figure out or fix. So what I started to see in myself was all of this energy gets freed up, because that energy that used to go into thinking and strategizing is really the life force that starts to burst through these chakras that once was kept suppressed, because it needed somewhere to go, so it went to the mind to think or to worry. But then all of this energy needed somewhere else to be intended for it to go. And it was this creatorship energy of imagination and creativity that's very harnessed within the feminine. But ultimately, I am one day going to stop talking about the feminine and masculine at this bridge, because in the sovereign being, the genderless soul that has the components of the two archetypes, there's no need to really keep splitting these up. This is only for those that are coming into this union. But I only speak about maybe 5% of what's going on in my thing, because I think, well, how can we create the best bridge? We don't have to go off and say everything that's being discovered in these realms and these levels. But what we can do is start to see that the most important topic of this video is this feminine unhooking of basically shedding the value systems of what it means to be spiritually successful, consciously expanding, to see that, yes, if you were 200, 300 years ago, there was a lot of suppression of the feminine, but now it's starting the time to move, and your only real resistance is against this ease. Many people won't even allow themselves to rest. They won't, give themselves love, give yourself, clean, have a really lovely, clean space at home. Put aside whatever you were meant to be doing, light a candle, have a beautiful meal, give yourself this self-love, give yourself what you've pented up all of this energy for so long, and it's trying to flood in to give you what is really now just about intention and, again, allowing. You can't even figure it out. The human doesn't have a job here, it just has to get out of the way. There is no... His job is to experience what it was like to be dragged back to oneness. And so all it can really do is hold on and dig its feet in. That's all it really can do. So your job is to watch and just to contemplate how things feel. Does it feel good to have to strategize? Does it feel good to have to defend yourself against others? Does it feel good to have to feel guilty that you're not socializing all the time, or that you do enjoy that you're alone time? Or maybe you do enjoy meeting friends who are really in their sovereignty and in their love as well, right? Cutting those cords as well. Sometimes there's some guilt mechanisms that we carry on into these next stages of what it should look like. I should be having loads of sex, or I should be socializing, I should be living to the absolute fullest. But don't forget the yin inside of you as well, right? The yin of rest, and the yin of creative passion that comes from not, creating to support a masculine structure that needs success that's based on wealth. True wealth, we know now, is nothing to do with hoarding money. You look at any billionaire that hoards money, they're just so depleted of energy. Abundance is flow. Abundance is, how fast can I give this away because I know it's coming back. Give away because I know it's coming back. Go for a coffee because I can spend it, it's going to come back in a different way. Give myself, and give to the world as well. It's one big... If you looked at the energy centers, it goes like this. You can actually see it. But when they're fractured and when they're closed and they're limited, all you're doing is blocking off life force, right? It's a very sexual thing, because it's a flow, right? It's the interplay, the relationship between what you perceive as yourself and what you perceive outside of yourself, the whole of creation, masculine and feminine energies. So let's release guilt. Don't even come at me with, I'm going to process this now, I'm going to figure this out. Become the worst processor in the world. There's nothing to process. The more you reify things, great. If you're in that phase of trauma work and you're in that phase of emotion work, sure. But in this era, what the human also can't quite comprehend is that it's even easier than needing to sort and analyze your problems, right? They lose their grip when you just stop trying to solidify them, saying, I have anxiety and I'm going to work through my anxiety. I have guilt around this, about receiving. I'm going to work on my abundance. Come on. It's even easier than that. This is what the being can't understand. Receive your awakening, right? Enlightenment's trying to find you. Awakening's trying to seek you out. But you're too busy working on the human healing project, right? Heal, heal, heal. Fix, fix, fix. Stop fucking fixing yourself. The more you attempt to fix something that isn't even here, you're just a movement of thought. You're reifying issues. You're reifying a sense of self. I know it sounds a bit, oh, be careful about trauma. There is real trauma. I understand that. But I speak to you as a master. You're not on here for more fixing analysis therapies, right? You're here because you know that it's so simple that you're just figuring out why is there still the momentum of analysing and getting somewhere on the spiritual path. The more you lay down your spiritual path as a vertical one timeline, the less that you're opening to this 5D reality that everything is really a sphere. There isn't one timeline. This is the biggest misconception is always that you're on a single timeline since birth, getting better and better and better, and one day, when I just get over that horizon, then I'll put my feet up and I'll find this stagnant freedom. Stagnant freedom is a paradox in itself. Freedom is the flow, right? Consciousness is always expanding. Consciousness will always move. Consciousness energy will always be pulsing, alive, exploring frontiers over horizons. There is no final place you can put your feet up. You just go into the flow, and eventually you don't even see yourself as a one being on a timeline. The whole of the horizontal, the vertical, there is no going anywhere. It's almost this way. You can visit yourself back in wherever you are, right? What's healing when you don't have time? Right? This is so amazing. There is such a belief that you have to get off that one day you'll heal. You step off the timeline altogether and you see that that is the healing. The belief in time is trauma. The belief in space and duration and self and other is the fractured nature of perceiving reality, not as an indivisible whole, but as like a somehow you manage to cut yourself off and have your own little reality over here in your own little timeline. Right? So how this kind of connects to how I was speaking about the receiving, the feminine. The byproduct really of this union inside is all of the paradigms of metaphysics start to dissolve back into you as well. Time, space. So what someone tries to do usually is to figure out in the masculine, and it keeps it solid because they're not allowing the surrender of the goddess, right? When the goddess and the god meet and they kiss, inside of you there is this alchemy of really the pineal gland, the pituitary gland, the kundalini comes all the way up to the top, the crown opens, all the chakras burst open, and all of the sense of solidity of a world collapses. And that's how you do it, not through analysis, through a tangible, physical, really, but visceral. It's like an ice cube that boils over and melts the physicality itself. Boom. But what I'm trying to say is get out of your head, get out of the fixing, and get out of the masculinity. This is the time of the goddess, the way of the goddess, the marriage, the union. Alright, I love you.